How are your networks? This is a great network, right? You're not going to drop one another now, are you? My Gaya's a class of 64. That's when we were in S1. We have a WhatsApp group and we're very vibrant. These are your sisters. These are the people you tell. Those little things you can't tell anyone else. Yeah? So keep these friends. Keep this group. And it will be very, very helpful. So what sports? I played for Uganda. Yeah, I know you're singing now, Uganda Cranes, and are you missing a match? I think we are missing a match right now. I'd better be brief. And then our netballers, and they're wonderful. Yes, yes. So I played for Uganda as well in actually 5 sports. Because of the different times things happened in my life. Gayaza was taught great tennis. As a junior champion, as the African champion, and but then I go to medical school. You study until 7, get home at 8, and it's already dark. So I couldn't play tennis. President Idi Amin had arranged for a Chinese table tennis coach to come to Uganda. So we went for that, quite a number of us from Makerere. And yeah, then started playing. The whole of medical school could never go back to my tennis. So I played table tennis. And we did travel quite a bit for Uganda. That's so very eye-opening. Traveling. You see other countries, you see how they do things. And I think it was actually very, very beneficial, apart from finding that you're always so much weaker than the other people who have come from the US or from Cuba, and they're really strong. But yes, we participated and we had a lot of fun. I then went on to finish medical school. I went back to my tennis. I then went to play squash, and always I was riding motorcycles and I was competing for the women, not for the women, for Uganda. Okay? So sports gave me networks. Those tennis players, they are the ministers, they are the PSs, they are there. They will always be very beneficial. So don't overlook sports if you have the ability. Beginning of boards, swimming. We came here, back to Uganda, and Uganda team went to the Commonwealth Games that were in, I think, Zimbabwe. And our Ugandan swimmer actually drowned. Was drowning. They saved him. They saved him. Do you know how embarrassing that is? So the Secretary General, they then went to the Olympics. Same thing. From today onwards, after that day, they now have lifesavers at this place. Before they didn't think, what do you need a lifesaver for? From somebody who's... But what was happening was the association was corrupt. They were just getting somebody like you or me and saying, do you want a visa? Do you want a ticket? Pay me some money and I'll take you. So that's how bad it was. So we decided we were taking over the association. Now who? I was in Pepsi, so I had some rank. The others didn't have, didn't have much rank. You be the chair, I'll be the secretary. And we went, had elections, and took over. Now look at us. We're winning medals, guys. Yay, clap for us. But it was war, and really people were feeling so bad. They were losing this opportunity to make money, and it was terrible. So the other thing, skills. Yes, you're here. This is wonderful that you're here. More and more skills. Wherever there are opportunities to learn something, to add to your skills, go ahead and do it. When I was in primary 8, we did 8, you do 7. We had a very long holiday because Amin took over the Kabaka's palace. So so I went and did a secretarial course. I have never been without a job because of that. Throughout every holiday, I got jobs. All the secretaries in town call me. I want to, throughout medical school, I had a job. I made money because I had done a very shorthand and typing course. So those small things, don't ignore them. When you have an opportunity, learn it. It doesn't do you any harm, even if it's not clearly going to be very useful. I met my husband because of my tennis. He was working as assistant chief engineer, BAT. And because of tennis, BAT used to sponsor tennis. They are not allowed anywhere near sports anymore. But at that time, they were. So they would sponsor us, and they gave us jobs. And so that's where I met my husband. He was an engineer, a Budonian, exactly like my dad. My father was a Budonian, he was an engineer. I don't know if I was looking for my father, but anyway. It works. Yes. He had to wait for 5 years because that was after S6. I was going to medical school. My father told me I am going to do medicine. Like you had, was it today, where you have only 3? Africans only have 3 things that they want their children to be. So they wanted me to be a doctor. And here I am. I was a doctor, obeying my dad. Whether I'm very good at it is another matter. We were able to work in many countries because of the chaos that was here at that time. My husband, unfortunately, passed away fairly early. He used to smoke, so maybe that's it. But again, I want to share with you a will. Who has not got a will in this room? I'm sure I should have asked who has one. There was only one who doesn't have one, and that's not true. None of you have a will. Please write a will. We'll even have a fight for that pretty dress of yours. Your sisters and your cousins and, So it doesn't have to be that you have a huge amount of property, but it's so helpful, okay? So my husband did. Are you questioning whether whether she has a will? Yes. So that's so important to protect your property. You have seen the fighting over a small piece of land, the families, the brothers, everybody not talking to the other. You can prevent that. And my husband was very smart. Had written very clearly what he has and who he was leaving it to. And it was a blessing. I walked into Pepsi Cola and said, my husband has so many shares. He's written it down here. And they now belong to us, myself and the children. No problem. Yeah? But without that will, you could have imagined all the in-laws, his brothers, and who have you. So make sure, if you have any property, you don't have to let anybody know. You just write your will, you can keep it in the bank, you can get somebody to. Your friend will sign on it, but you shouldn't read it. Once they read it, they're already having their own opinions as to where you should leave your property. So you write your will, say, okay, you're my best friend, sign here. But don't read. Yeah. So, volunteering. You young generation, when anybody says, could you do this? How much am I going to be paid? Isn't it? How much am I going to be paid? Please. You benefit so much from sitting on those boards where they pay you nothing, but you learn so much. So I volunteered. My first big one was Uganda Manufacturers Association. First of all, I was ignorant. I had just moved from my doctor's practice to business in Pepsi Cola. So yes, they invited me. I didn't say no. I went. What a blessing it was. I knew every investor in town. I knew all the policies that we were fighting. I knew so much just by being a member there. But when you ask most people, the first thing is, what am I getting? you are getting it differently. You're becoming stronger because you know so much more. The same thing with the things like scouting. Yeah, I've just received the Apex, it's not this one. I just received the Apex Award for scouting in the world. That's called the Bronze Wolf. Thank you. I already had the African elephant. And scouting is for the young people, right? Ours is not to enjoy our badges, really, but to make sure that the young people are enjoying their scouting. And they are learning and learning so much. Feminism. Things happened to me one by one. So I first worried about the youth, entrepreneurship, youth in general. Then the ladies invited me for an event at Serena, the hall, about feminism. I was horrified. I was born with 4 brothers. I was treated like one of the boys. I never knew what my sisters go through. And now I was about, 35, when I first heard the figures, and I said, my God, little girls are getting pregnant, gender-based violence, all the things that happen to women. These ladies were just reeling them off and reeling off figures. Oh, then I became a feminist. So you got to find your passion, a passion at the right time. So, and then see where you can make an impact. And it has to be a big one. I don't make little impacts. I will not join your little community. No, I will not do that because I know I don't have the time. But some bigger things that I will tell you about that I joined. I then got the job at the UIA. And I largely got it. Yes, I was at Pepsi, but also UMA. We were running the trade fair, so we were very visible and very loud. So I got that job. And that job, wow. Knowledge. How much do you learn every day? The investor, this one is in mining, the other one is in flowers, the other one is in, tourism. You learn. Every day you learn something new. And so it's very, very interesting. You find networks. Today, even Alpha San just told me he's launching something, and yet he came in my time, which is more than 10 years ago. So they still appreciate what we did for them. So Uganda Investment Authority, you became a public figure. So Ugandans recognize me, especially young Ugandans. Young Ugandans, they recognize you. We traveled a lot. We've been to every continent. A lot of training. World Bank, UNIDO, all those wanted to train us. We had to promote Uganda, but also regionally, COMESA, East African Community, all those. And locally, we needed to improve. If you listened to Claire yesterday, improve the investment climate. So we put something in place called Team Uganda. My management. I was so lucky to find a team that was really good, had been trained very well, and knew a lot more than I did. So that's a challenge. CEO knows less than everyone else. But you get through very quickly by making sure you catch up and you can know the things just as much as they do. I had an open door policy. It's not that the CEO is impossible to see, No, the door was always open. Anybody who had an issue could come and bring it. Family, the balance. Now, I was a single mother with 3 children. Luckily, they were in boarding school. So at least I had those some months when I didn't have the children, so I could seriously work. So your children, I know many of you may not have any yet, what do you do with them? Priority. Number? Fathers, this I have to beg. Fathers, you need to be present, especially for the boys. Generally, mothers were present, but dads, please don't be absent. The girls, They want to see the kind of man they will marry in you. I told you my father was a Budonian. My father was an engineer. So was my husband. So my father was so perfect, I looked for somebody like him. And I made a very good choice. So be there. Be home. Yes, it's fun. We leave work at 5. We go play tennis until 7. Then we sit in the bar until 10. No. Once in a while, yes. No, not every day. Okay? So the absent fathers, we have a problem now. Tomorrow we are celebrating Men's Day. We're going to be in Jinja, in Kakira, with Madvani for this particular day. Then next week we'll have a number of other celebrations with the men, but based in Jinja this year. Last year we were here in Kampala. So we have recognized that men as well need support. After empowering women for years and years, we haven't caught up yet, so we are not stopping on the women. We are not stopping on the women. They still need us. They still need each other, not us. You still need each other to help you up. And of course, the good men, who are many, to help us also move up. Boards. So the children education is key. On boards. I started very simply at the tennis club. I was sitting on that board. Then at the doctors, of course, they have all kinds of things in the hospital. Then I got the opportunity, with all my ignorance, to be on the board of Crown Beverages, Pepsi. Yes. Obviously, I needed skills. I couldn't just sit there with my common sense that I got from being a doctor. So corporate governance was just starting in Uganda, but they sent us to Kenya. So we learned about corporate governance and how we should be managing our boards, which was helpful. Then the UMA board was such an excellent board to learn from Uganda manufacturers. And then so many things that we were doing for women. And Scouts, how it's managed. Uganda Scouts Association, but Africa Scout Foundation, I was chairing that. When I went to the UIA, I got so many newspaper attacks. How was she chosen? Why? She's a medical doctor. Why do they want her? You should do economics. What color is she? Where is she from? So I had very many questions in the paper. But again, because of the networks, this was mainly the Monitor. So I called Wafula. I said, Wafula, help. And he stopped it. He never printed any more of your messages that were mean about me. I told him, give me a little chance. I've just started, for heaven's sake. If I don't deliver, start again. He said, okay. So networks, important things, because Wafula was also on the board of. So Shell Foundation, that's an international board that I've been sitting on. I retired last year. Trademark Africa, that's an NCBA is a bank. As a feminist, we have an apex body that represents us in Africa. Kina Mama wa Africa. I chaired that for 7 years. I was Chancellor, Nkumba University, and many years ago, and now Pentecostal University. I am the Chancellor. I'm a chair of the Makerere Endowment Fund. Who went to Makerere? So many of you. Have you heard of the Endowment Fund? Look for it and join if you are not there. We have a very nice newsletter. He has a lot to contribute on that. And it's interesting. So you know what's happening. And if you have $1 or $2, you contribute to what we are doing. So all these things are big picture. People are different. I don't sit on little boards. I want to have a big impact. So that's what I was choosing to do. So for you, going on, the passion. We've had the kind of passion you have now for your community, for your country. And For me, it was UIA that brought that out. I love my country to bits. I think it's so rich. I think it has a land of opportunity. I think we have the nicest people, but that's me. That's me. You don't have to agree with me. And so I'm always looking for how to make my country better. And through all these other things that I'm able to do. So that's your passion. Find your passion if you haven't found it yet. And as I said, it changes along the way. Oh, add zone. Doesn't change. I don't leave the old one and pick a new one. And then business. Many of you have jobs, right? Yeah? Or you started businesses. Who's in business? A few, yes. Some are in business. Excellent. Jobs are great, but they are temporary. Remember that always. They are temporary. So even as you're doing the job, what can you do as a side hustle? Just in case you get kicked out. And you can't get kicked out. We've had that happen. Okay? So start some bits. Begin to think what business you can do. When I was at the UIA, I was in Pepsi, of course. Then I got the job at UIA. So Pepsi could run. We had a board, and I could go for meetings. But what else? I had land. If you have land, and it's just sitting there, and squatters are taking it over, plant some trees. It will help our climate, but also it will protect your land. And then you sell them, actually, you make a lot of money. They take long to grow, unfortunately, but when they do, they are great. So apart from that, side hustle so that you can save. You are very young. I think saving is not, retirement is not your challenge right now, but it will come, I promise. It will come. So begin to think of that. What can you do to prepare? You may be paying NSSF. Government of Uganda, of course, will give you some money. You have a will, you have a trust. You can have a trust for the children so that wealth that we make, what has been happening is our rich people die and their wealth disappears. Each child takes this bit and that bit and they sell it and that's the end. And even close businesses, imagine. Somebody started running a business. Have you heard that which nightclub has just closed? These are not nightclubbers. Which one? Governor. Governor has just closed. No, there's one older one than Governor that has also closed. Anyway, so that was a real big business, and it has also closed. So be ready. So for you, coming to the end, find your passion. Find what it is that you love, whether it's the communities. Now, helping the community, you need to have something yourself. Yeah? Many people are so eager to do things, start projects. I'm going to look after 50 orphans. And then you say, how? Can you make some money first? You look after one orphan, maybe, right now. But don't be too ambitious on the going to give out all kinds of things. But keep your passion, make your money. When you are rich, contribute, and you'll be able to do much, much more. So find your passion where it falls. Among some of the things, there's climate change. As Crown Beverages, we are trying to manage the plastic bottles. So as Pepsi, we've reduced considerably. If you saw an old bottle, it had much more plastic. This one has. But we're also coming up with washable, reusable plastic, and also the one that disintegrates. Recyclable. One is recyclable, reusable. What's the other one? Anyway, disintegrates. So we are hoping to achieve that. And now bottles. We are trying. You don't like bottles. Our customers are so comfortable with the plastic one, which you can take with you. And they don't like our bottles. But we are trying. The water now is going to be in bottles. Not all of it. some of it, and then the plastic is reduced in the others, and we see how we move forward until a point when we will not have plastic. But the other end, we have people picking them up. You don't really see bottles hanging around, do you? Even on my farm, I see people coming, picking them out and selling them. So somebody's buying them and crushing them and making basins or exporting them to China. So we are trying to reduce the plastics that we have in the country. So work-life balance, the children. I was so lucky to have a year off to look after Navio. You see how different he is from my other children. I don't know whether he was thoroughly spoiled. That's more like it. Yes, you don't know my other two, but so he's very different. But I managed to, as a doctor, you never get time off. So, you know, your internship, go to work. The baby's 1 month, go to work. Yes, but with the last one, I thought, my husband's making enough money. I'm going to sit for a year. What a blessing that was. I know my child, and I was able to bring him up, and bring him up well. So if you have time, do that. Do that for your children. So leadership is different. It will be different. It will take a different form for each and every one of you. You can't do what she wants to do. You cannot. So you all have things that are important to you. I have, of course, my big picture Pepsi. I sometimes try to find, when everyone's complaining about too much sugar, too much plastic, I try to think, well, you'd be drinking dirty water if I didn't have my clean water in front of you. And also, I am everywhere. When you go to Karamoja, it will be there. So you'll find something clean to drink. So we find reasons why we should. And we have made it bigger. We have a new line on Entebbe Road, big, many, many lines. And we've taken over Nairobi. So Pepsi Uganda is in Nairobi. Give us a clap. My husband had land. He had bought land. We have land. I was wondering what I can do with it. I'm so busy. I'm learning Pepsi. I'm learning UIA. I planted trees. Now they're grown up. Now we are harvesting. So making money.